is a Tuesday stream! I am very excited to be here. Alright, let's see. Changing to stream plus camera. Waiting for Twitch to go online. Screen plus camera, there we go. Hey everybody! Welcome to another Tuesday night stream. I am very excited to be here. I'm sorry I have had to be away for the last couple of weeks, but it has been a good time. Oop. Let me know if there's anything I've managed to forget in 2 weeks. And many thanks to Ali and Richard for covering those 2 streams. I am very grateful. They will be covering at least one more for me in the first week of November. The reason that I have been away is because Riot very sensibly sends people who manage other people through a training program for like how to be a manager. So I've actually been doing that. It's really interesting. It's sort of just like all this sort of stuff that you might want to or need to know if you are responsible for the career development of other people. And it's been very useful to me, and I hope it's useful to everyone else on the team too, since like if it was only useful to me, that would sort of defeat the purpose of managers training. So, alright, because I have been sort of like really very far removed from the code base for these last couple of sessions, I thought that we could continue to write lore and flavor text for the game, since with any luck I can't get into too much trouble. Since we can be creative together and I can't get into too much trouble editing text strings. That's the hope anyway. It is totally possible that we can get into quite a great amount of trouble together, but we'll be together, so I guess that will just have to make up for it. First of all, it's actually just really nice to see you all online. Katisha Honey and Bob Jones and Joe Maxrow and all of you. I actually very much look forward to streaming always, and I love seeing you all, and it's been a long time since the Kickstarter, since when we first started streaming, and it always makes me happy to see you guys are all still with us. Okay, so true confession time. The last bunch of things that we wrote together, like for the Potter, I believe I was not able to put in the game at that time because it was the first time Richard was with us. Whoa, hello, where did everybody go? I was not able to put those texts into the game at that time because at the time, this computer was on a different branch, and so I couldn't check in, and for a good reason. You know, other important work was going on. So, but I want to sort of like go back and do some of that now. And the other thing I should make sure is SmartGet. Hello, okay. We are on develop and there's nothing checked out, so we should be all clear to do this. All right, red, clay, window, clay door, no. I see. Probably red clay window frame. Sweet. All right. So as we sort of like get some time to do all of this, please let me know if you guys have any questions about what's going on with the game. Alpha 19 has just come out on Steam Unstable. We pushed another version of it on Monday, and it's got so many new changes and features that like it's honestly a little bit surprising to me, like how many were in there. Like I believe that we made scaffolding free at some point, and I did not know this, and I had like this building that wasn't building, and I was like, oh, clearly I need more wood, and everyone else on the team was like, you don't need more wood, scaffolding's free, and I was like, are you really sure? But yeah, so congratulations to everybody. Ryan Rue asks, who does the art for Stonehearth? You love the art. We love the art too. Tom has done a lot of the art for Stonehearth until about, April or so of this year, when he had to sort of like go on to more administrative tasks. And now all of our art for Stonehearth is done by the very talented Ali Strom, who streams on Wednesday morning. So tomorrow morning at like 8:30 a.m. if you want to watch her actually make this beautiful art for our game, you can join her on stream and do that. She told me that you guys really helped her out working on the tapestries, like that you were sending her mock-ups and ideas and everything in Cubicle, and it sounded like she was having a really great time. And so, you know, I hope that you all continue to do that. I think it's really, like, her work is really lovely because, you know, when she's sharing it and when she's streaming it, like, you know, there's this tangible sense of progress, and we really feel like you're very good at helping us, like, narrow in on things. Let's see. What program am I using? This is actually Shed, which Yang wrote in C#, which allows us to edit our JSON files more easily, and a lot of other files too, but mostly JSON files. So like on the left-hand side, I'm looking for things that have clay window in them, and this is an object in the game, the red clay window frame. Actually, that's just an alias. And here's the recipes for them. And these guys are like, they're what? So this is a C# program application that looks at the game and extracts some of the things out, and so it makes it easier to edit things. So for example, if I want, like right now the flavor text for the red clay window frame is to do, so I can just say like, okay, I'm gonna edit this localization, I'm gonna edit this, whoops, sorry, gonna edit this to be this. Square and pure. I think it was this one. Industry standard for a reason. Red fits into the desert but stands out from the sand. Industry square and pure. Wow, there's so many interesting, like I can't even remember like which ones were the ones. Square and pure. Let's do this. See. Do we have tall clay window? We do have tall clay window. All right. Windowsill can cool a really tall pie. Tan clay window. Achromatism. The Timo says, at Stonehearth I'm going to start making a mod of hundreds of decorative items. Yang liked a whole bunch of my ideas. I really look forward to it. I love decorative items. I think they make cities really pop. I think they make them feel really, really yours. Like, you know, clearly you took the time to make all these things, and, you know, it makes the city feel much more alive. So I look forward to that. The Shed is the place where they take the Stonehearth out when it misbehaves. Oh gosh, Easter, thank you. Does she do the art on the menu and the loading screens? Ali does the art on the menu, and the loading screen art actually was mostly done by Tom. But we were just saying on Monday when we were playing the game, or when we were going through it, that really we should add more of Ali's concept sketches to the loading screens too. Honestly, it's really fantastic. Like, you know, really good artists are able to work in each other's styles and like work in each other's styles and really sort of enhance them. And I feel like that's sort of what you're seeing with Ali and Tom. Like, you know, here Tom is established and done so much concept for Stonehearth and actual like models for Stonehearth. And, you know, Ali started many years after Tom was already doing this, but she was able to pick it up super fast. And I think as anyone who has enjoyed the Rise Children Tier 2 templates or the Ascendancy Tier 2 templates or any of the flowers or any of the, you know, the stuff from the most from these recent alphas, like, you know, I personally find her stuff is amazing and I am completely in love with it. So it's a real gift when you can find people who can work in another person's style. I think it's one of the reasons that, like, it's like there's people who do art as a hobby and there's people who do art professionally, and I'm a hobbyist artist, and I always feel like, oh, like, but I always, like, I'm doing it for a hobby, so I make the things that I love. And I think a professional artist can make the things that are right for the product, and not just what they love. And if they happen to love it, well, that's a fantastic side effect. Clay tunnel door. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Pearls. Clay tunnel door recipe, right? Actually, I really like this. Let's see. Okay. Cool. Right. Okay. Bob Jones asks, Stonehearth, what is the status of weather effects and seasons? We know we want to do them, but we would like Ali to have a chance to do... We know we'd like to do them. We have some gameplay ideas for them and what they would mean for crops and what they would mean for people and all this other stuff. But we would like Ali to have a chance to do some concepts, some high-level concepts as to what weather and seasons would actually look like in Stonehearth. And but those are probably going to have to happen after she, like, from Desktop Tuesdays that she was experimenting with, like, Edge of the World. And so, after she sort of, like, does some high-level concepts for what the worlds look like, what the frame looks like, maybe at some point she can then start to look at, like, what the, look is for weather and seasons. And so I expect it won't be for a while. I think that, you could play an entirely reasonable game of Stonehearth without having to worry too much about this stuff, and they're sort of like they're sort of like magnifying, how do I put this? I think of some features as really, really core and critical. Like, for example, eating and sleeping and hearthling happiness and, like, building and all this stuff. You can't have Stonehearth without them. And then there's features that add dimensionality to the game. Like, you take an existing system, like sleeping or harvesting food, or survival or shelter, and this other, like, there are some systems that make those systems more complex once you have mastered the basics of them. So, for example, you might have mastered how you gather food or how you do farms, and then weather would, like, go in and throw a monkey wrench in it. Like, oh, now we need to worry about temperatures and seasons, and, like what is the right thing to plant at this season versus that season is an enhancement on whether or not you have stuff to plant. So we're very much looking, especially now that Richard's here, at, taking another look at our core systems and making sure that they actually all play together, because right now they kind of don't. And then we'll look again at adding dimensionality to the game in these ways. And also, it would be terrible to add all the systems but then have no art for them, because then you would never, it's like, oh, is it winter? It just says so in the UI. I guess that it's winter. So for those reasons, yes, but a little while from now. Ryan Rue says, favorite art styles on the menu and loading screen. You really want to learn to do a similar style. Using that style, make some of your own pictures, that and lore. I would love to hear some of the stories from your settlements. I'm glad you think the lore is amazing. I think Ali has worked on that a lot too. She's always asking, why is it like this? Why is it like this? And I feel like to answer those questions, we really have to make up fantastic answers. Linda has actually also done a ton of work in Rise Children Tier 2 to sort of, like, figure out some of the lore behind Rise Children and start baking it into the descriptions and into the quests. Ryan Rue, if you are curious about Ali's style, there are many Desktop Tuesdays from earlier that are about the process she goes through to create the splash screens for the art, and so you might want to go back and look at those. And there might also be some older streams that are archived on Twitch that talk through her process, because it's a very long process, and a very exacting one, and it's a lot of fun to see it evolve. I like writing stories too, clearly. Let's see. I wonder how difficult it would be to set the descriptions up to alternate from time to time. Could be an interesting surprise from time to time, but it would be a lot more content to add. It is not included to alter the descriptions at the moment, but I could imagine like just having them be an array instead of a string, and then like you would just randomly get different ones. Although I imagine that would be more appropriate for getting different descriptions on things that you've made as opposed to the recipe, because the recipe is like the recipe. It would be like altering the flavor text on your magic cards, which, come to think of it, I suppose happens sometimes. It is a good idea. Let's see. Jashab says, welcome back. Thank you. It is really good to be here. Okay. Right, we were just checking if the stuff was actually taking. Red window frame. Iskander, die master. Yep. Tall windowsill can cool a really tall pie. No, I didn't forget the die. Right, Potter's wall-mounted sign. Let's see. What could we say about the Potter's wall-mounted sign? It uses clay and a sign. Which really is kind of interesting. Is the sign just sort of like smacked up there with clay? Like, did the potter need clay in order to make the sign? Like... I really want to make a pun about Pottery Barn. I really love Pottery Barn. I just bought a couch from Pottery Barn because I've wanted that couch since, like, I first sat in it, like, 10 years ago. I've waited 10 years for this couch. Of course, the reason I waited so long is because, like, Pottery Barn couches are super expensive. Yeah. Anyway. Less fragile and easier than hanging a real pot. I really like that. Let's see. That's fantastic. Okay. Right. So, yes, we will avoid the Pottery Barn instinct, even though I finally was able to buy the couch. In the end, though, the only way that my husband and I could make the couch fit in our bedroom, in our living room, which is incredibly tiny, we live in a really tiny apartment, was to only buy 2 pieces of a sectional. So it looks like a couch that has the last third of it, like, sawed off at the end. I think it's hilarious, like, but I can understand if other people are like, why do you only have 2/3 of a couch? Really helps, though, when you're economizing. Yes. It's very pragmatic. Okay, decorative tray. Potted cactus! Potted cactus hasn't had flavor text, like, since the beginning. Anyone know any... So let's just do this. Let me put it here. Let me write down what all needs some stuff. So we talked about the herbalist staff, the mason's chisel, potted cactus, unfired clay vase. Guys, tell me a story about the first potter. Like, who first started, like, making pottery for Rise children? Let's see. Make a mod that adds some small things but with some lore behind them. You are always welcome to do that. A game with a little lore is a quest. A game with fun lore and a good amount of it is an adventure. That is lovely. It's so funny because we have long conversations at the office about the role of lore in the game. One of our designers on the other team, his name is Seth, and he is like a huge fan of Bloodborne. And Bloodborne and Stonehearth are clearly nothing alike in terms of tone, but he just speaks so passionately about how Bloodborne's lore is baked into like the very scenes in the game. Like no one ever comes in you at Bloodborne, he says, and talks about the lore. They just sort of you just sort of like read an item description and then you see some piece of wall and like you put the two together in your head and you're like, oh my god. And that's something that I think would be really fantastic for Stonehearth. Like I think, you know, it's totally acceptable for someone to come and talk at you for a while, but I feel like some of the best lore moments for me, like playing games, mostly Dragon Age, I think, has been one of those moments where I'm like, hey, what's the statue doing in this goddess's temple? Why is that statue here? And like that's actually like a hint. I'm also the sort of geeky person who bought all of the Lore of Thedas books because it was more fun to read the codex entries outside the playing of the game than inside the game, because when I'm playing the game I want to be playing, so like I read the codex entries, but sometimes like I feel like skipping them I don't have time to do full analysis because I want to kill that monster. But yeah, so yeah, lore is fantastic. It's an entire game itself, you know, figuring out what's going on. The looks of Stonehearth and the tone of Bloodborne, the Avix, I would be fascinated to see what something like that would be, but it is definitely not going to be Stonehearth. I do want to stay a family-friendly game. I've not played Bloodborne myself, but my dad is a huge fan of Bloodborne, and the last time I went over to visit him, he was just showing me everything about his Bloodborne game, and it was fascinating and engrossing, and me and my cousins were all there. We couldn't stop watching, but it is really kind of dark. Like, you know, around the time that you're fighting like a monster that's made out of a pile of corpses that seem to have affixed themselves to a coffin, like you're like, gee, I wonder what could have caused this. Maybe someone should make a Bloodborne mod for Stonehearth. That would indeed be like a total conversion. Yes, that would require a lot of changes. Maybe for Halloween, but if you feel like doing it this weekend, you don't have to make a total conversion. Just make one building and one model that like emblematically like for you, and like is it for you? And I would love to see that on the forum, in its own location, separated, neatly segregated from the rest of Stonehearth's amazing happiness. We never had a description for the clay bed. Okay, right, what else? Potted cactus. A Dark Souls mod for Stonehearth. That would also be pretty amazing. Okay, I have some ideas here for potted cactus, but you guys tell me a story about this unfired clay vase. What is the most interesting thing that could have happened in Stonehearth lore on the subject of unfired clay vases? Go crazy. In the meantime, I will do potted cactus. Hey, 8-Bit Crab. Sorry to hear that your internet's on the fritz. Fatima says, oh man, having to survive the Night of Beasts, your hearthlings get tainted and go feral. Yeah, that is definitely a different kind of Stonehearth than the Stonehearth that we're building. I want to see the world through their eyes. The tainted, like, hearthlings are like... At Stonehearth, Narail1 says, once in Epoch, there was a child who loved to water her plants. One day, insert name, found the most beautiful viper flowers in the land, which were rooted upon a useless patch of clay. Insert name started to water her flower, only to notice the ground started to wither around it. Knowing her flower was at risk, she took the... Wherever this is going, this is fascinating. The first potters learned their trade from the imprisoning of the Varundaris, god of Varunus. Is that, like, specifically like Varanus, or, like... Wow, okay. But I love the idea that, like, the first potters learned their trade by imprisoning some god. That would be pretty crazy. Bob Jones says, I'd like a Pokemon mechanic. Alright, slightly off topic, unless you were talking about stuffing Pokemon into clay pots, but noted. The first vase should clearly have been fired by insert dragon here. They were ancestors of the Zilla, much larger and much scarier. Wow, that's so funny. Now my mental image is like Smog somewhere, like in his awesome cave, like firing a pot with his breath, like that would be pretty amazing. You're just like Smog, you're doing it wrong. Like you need to turn it, and like now he's like turning it really fast. Anyway, thank you for that mental image. That was awesome. Turtle Squish needs to be here for the making of the vase lore. I know, right? You'll have to tell him. I had this idea of placing a type of AI, pathing where they would do mirror's edge parkour. That would be pretty amazing too. In order to do that, you could ask Chris, actually, Halo Kills. Ask Chris how you can overwrite the, like basically when you do pathing and you want them to walk on roads, you reduce the expense of the road relative to the expense of the terrain, so that when the A-Star Pathfinder is doing its thing, it thinks the road is cheaper to walk on than the terrain tiles beside it. And that's why they prefer the roads over the other terrain tiles, because like they're counting up the length of the path, and they think the path is shorter, they think the path is cheaper. You can ask him what you would do to override those values so that it's instead the sides of buildings that are really cheap and roads are really expensive. Anyway, let's see. Picture a guy making a mud ball, bully punching it and trying to smash it, but it ends up inspiring the first bowl. That's pretty good. What were Rye's 3 wishes? I remember the lamp and the teapot. What was the third? That is a good question. I feel like we have not written this in a long time. Like Rye's 3 wishes. Let's see. Lamp. Is there a lamp? This lamp? I don't know if we actually defined her wishes, but it might have had to do with the teapot. Like there's a teapot, right, that like a jade teapot set that was like very, very special and very magical. Oh hey Mega Shub, it is good to see you. Aliens in Stonehearth would be a lot. I don't even want to know. What? Holy cow. The first pot was formed together by wind, earth, and fire, connecting Hearthlings to their world. Oh, that is really beautiful. Yeah. Let's start there. Really beautiful. Do we already have a Master Potter running around? Because like that would be super convenient. Clay dining table. Let's give it back to Master Orlin. Cool. Alright, we also had clay dining table. Okay, lovely. Who's the god of the ascendancy? Perhaps the herbalist staff could be a joint gift from the gods of the three people to the Hearthlings to help them weather the times after the fall of the Phoenix Empire. That is lovely. But the ascendancy actually doesn't have a god per se. So all three factions have teachers. The ascendancy's teacher is Sid. Sid the Wise, Sid the Knight, Sid the Valorous, depending on what part of his life you are talking about. And he's not a god. He's more like a revered, honored teacher. And the Rise Children has Raya, who is a guild mistress, who later was touched by a god, maybe, or like had a connection to a god, or was the favorite of a god, and so was able to guide her people. And the Northern Alliance has Valen the Brave, Valen the Explorer, Valen the Wanderer, Valen the Paladin, depending on the way that you want to read that. And he's the one who led his people north away from the heart of the Phoenix Empire after it fell to sort of like avoid entanglements. In fact, he led them north before it fell to help them avoid entanglements that they did not want. But so it's a great idea maybe that the herbalist staff might have something to do with being a gift. Like the idea that somebody taught people how to, someone specifically had to teach people how to use the herbs of the ground of the world in order to heal themselves. So let's leave that note here. Like I could see so this herbalist staff is specifically for Rise Children. I could even see people attributing that to Monkey, for example. Halo Kill says, through time nomads have traveled the land searching and looking for a home. They've seen and encountered many things on their journey, one of which was so influential that the early vases and bowls we designed to be based on that very encounter. Though what they saw remains unknown. Oh, that's a tease, Halo Kills. What is it? Oh my goodness. Things having sick lore, but then looking back at some mundane or stupid event that was stretched through time. I need something to carry this in. Yeah. Yes. I actually think that, one of the secrets to writing good lore is to have, you always know what actually happened, but you don't say what actually happened. Instead, you write down what other people think actually happened. And I think that, you could probably summarize, well, this is my humble guess, but you could probably summarize the lore of most games in this one really boring sentence if you just wrote it out like a sentence. But when you actually turn it into a game, it becomes something so much more. For those of you who haven't played BioShock or whatever, close your ears or whatever, but crazy man builds city underwater, everything goes wrong, is a sentence. But then you think about the plane crashing and the way that Rapture is constantly falling apart, the way that pipes are groaning, it is one of the most atmospheric places ever. And why is everyone crazy? Why is everyone wearing these weirdo masks? How come you can drink a thing or inject yourself with a thing and then suddenly ravens come out of your hand? There's something, that the experience of the lore is much cooler than just hearing what it is. Good night, 8-Bit Crab. Sorry about your internets. What if Sid, Raya, and Valen carried the art of healing from the Phoenix Empire to their various peoples? That is very beautiful, very poetic. Hey, King Foxtrot. We're just writing some more lore for Rise Children and for the world, actually. So who taught people to use flowers for healing? Maybe this could be some, to build on your idea, Surandras, maybe it's some secret from the Phoenix, maybe something like this. Might be a little long. Perhaps there's a fourth among the band, one who does not lead one people, but who aids all peoples. That's interesting. I'm not going to comment. These medicinal flowers can care for people as a gardener must for them. That's actually also very sweet. Like... In fact, it's not these, because... Right, one of these is very sweet, and one of these is, like, more grandiose. And in this case, let's go with the sweet one. Like, it seems less sad, I think. More cozy, more warm. The Timo, I feel like if I were to take your comments and rephrase it for Stonehearth, it would be so dramatically white, like rainbow washed. It would sound something like, "Friends, have you eaten this flower? It's amazing!" And it would lose something of your tone. See. Okay, we got that one. Let's do the herbalist. Clay staff. I totally bias toward using names for these things that like start with A. So I try very hard to remember to like thanks, Mally. I feel like, there's a filter in my brain that, like, takes normal things, like, the filter's rainbow colored, and then, like, it dumps the stuff through the rainbow filter, and then this, like, happy rainbow thing comes out the other end. And this is really not how I was as a teenager. When I was a teenager, it was all, like, everything's dark and painful, and, like listen to a bunch of Evanescence. It turns out that Evanescence is a phase you go through, just like being a teenager, and, like, you could suddenly hit your 30s and be like, oh, rainbows everywhere. Thanks for bearing with me. Let's see. Have you heard of the tale of the garden healer? The lullabies sung to children by their loved ones every spring evening has been a tradition for years, but there's more to the tale. Halo Kills, you are definitely teasing something here. Those who partake swear by its properties. That's actually hilarious. If we had more plants, maybe we could put that into the more plants. But anyway, I do like this one. Let us move on for now. So I was an angsty teenager, like a lot of people at Stonehearth. Yes. I thought I had a pretty good, like, teenagerhood. I thought it was great. And then I went back and I read a bunch of essays that I wrote about myself when I was a teenager, like, for classes or whatever. And it was like, wow, this is some really dark stuff. Like, I'm the only reason I'm like looking back, I was like, oh man, like, how come my teachers, like, didn't call my parents or, like, call a psychologist or at least, like, sit me down and talk to me? And I think that the answer is because actually everyone at the time was writing stuff that was equally dark. Like, I think I once had a high school teacher tell me something like, oh, well, like, everyone in your class is going through the same things. And so it's like, I see. Like, anyway. Confirm next update. Rainbows everywhere. Yeah, right? Let's talk to Chris. Like, Chris, can we make rainbows everywhere? Ryan Rue, they are good suggestions. Scouting for a way to aid their friends and comrades after a particularly brutal battle, the young Elisa, a recent recruit, decided to venture deep into a nearby forest. Halo Kill's stories keep coming out of you. They're fantastic. Mason's Chisel, a tool used to make tiny rocks. Oh my god, King Foxtrot, that is fantastic. Yes, let's do that. Alright, Mason. I really like that one. Alright. Except it's actually the other way around. It's a tool used to make, I really like that. A tool used to make big rocks into smaller, prettier, more functional rocks. Alright, fantastic. Cool. Now we do clay bed and clay dining table. Hey, Sniper Penguin. First time here, welcome. This is a dev stream. We are making up lore in the world to go into the flavor text behind the recipes for the potter. It's only used to make bigger rocks into smaller, more prettier rocks. Indeed, white leat cat. When you read things you wrote when you were a teenager, you just sit and think, wow, I was nowhere near as cool as I thought I was. Yeah, I think that is the story of all people. I mean, there must be some exceptions, right? Like the cast of Final Fantasy VIII. Like, everyone in that game is, like, between the ages of 16 and 18. And they're, like, basically teenagers who are saving the world, but they're, like, incredibly world-weary and, like, so grown up and, like, so grim about it. Do you suppose that when they're, like, in their 30s, they're like, dang, I really was pretty cool when I was a teenager? Like, I mean, I just feel like Squall his personality could really only improve. So, you know. Clay bed. Don't be surprised to see your body imprinted. Hey Froggy, it is good to see you. Find the flavor text most difficult to populate. Yes, Not surprised you've have to come back to them. Yeah, it's so true. This thing is one step above rock hard bottom. Oh my goodness. Alright. Hill Kill story continues. A small snap of twigs and branches gives way, and an entire squadron of goblins descends on the adventurer. Fearing that she would lead them to her ally, she quickly ventures deeper into the forest. The adventurer's venture, also maybe venture capitalist's venture, leading the monsters away. Clay bed. When you feel the clay floor is too low for you. That's pretty good too. Sleeping on earth without sleeping on the ground. Also pretty good. Yang says, it's also because I just hook up items and leave most of the text blank. Well, hey, like, I am enjoying myself, and I hope you guys are enjoying yourself too. I think it requires a different part of the brain than the part of the brain that's hooking up items. If the highlight of your life was when you were a teenager, you might end up going down a spiraling hole of depression. Well, then let us hope that it is not. Every day is a new day. Rainbows. Everywhere. Clay bed. Well, it's not called the floor anymore. That's pretty good, too. A little higher than the floor. Those poor teens in Final Fantasy VIII. No, it's normal in your sweat puddles like that. If anyone goes missing, get the hammer. Like, oh geez, so they've sunk into the clay bed. It's like a pot for sleeping. Wow. Ryan Rue, you are on a roll. Let's do it. 3 of 3. I feel a little bad, but let's do it. We should probably not credit this to Elan, because, like, really that's who I think of. The hopeless optimist is Elan from Word of the Stick. Let's see. Did we have other pragmatists? Let's just leave that unattributed, shall we? I think it's actually pretty good all by itself. Although, Elan, right? Well, we did just... We did just name someone with zeal. Like... We just named someone with a Z. Oh, Zale, you mean. Yeah. But I feel like that was a little bit more, like, thoughtful. Clarence. We'll just pick a random name. Yes. Now who is Clarence? Undoubtedly Clarence is Elan, except in our game. Alright, clay bed, clay dining table. I feel like the clay dining table has something to do with, like if the chairs are nesting with the table, then, like, gets your food off the ground. This could just simply be hugs the chairs. Now my feet don't fall asleep when I eat on the floor. Yes, although really it's more like where you put the food, right? Oh man. Hilla Kills' story continues. She was almost exhausted, like poor Elisa. But the ground gave way and now she's in a landslide. Safe but severely wounded, she would not have survived if it weren't for a gilded deer. Holy cow. Wow, okay. That was an unexpected twist. Deciding trust was the only option, Elisa followed the deer until they reached a meadow and the deer revealed its true nature. You were like Halo Kills, this is the micro Twitch chat version of what Dickens does with his books, like, and then what will happen to little Nell? Maybe you should write Twitter books, like, and then everyone will just like be on there like in great suspense for like every single tweet. I think you have a secret calling. Higher eating place for a higher level of civilization. I actually really like that. Pots on top of pots. You never saw that coming. Alright. It's really like not a secret anymore. The Avex? Sorry. Missing context. Oh, I see. Like, because, like, as it turns out, Elisa was in the presence of an old spirit, a relic of a time before the Empire. That's actually pretty fantastic. Like, what is this old spirit? Why is it running around? You mean no more sand in my food? Oh, just less sand. I feel like those two things are related. Like, why is it a higher level of civilization? It's because there's no less sand in my food. Like, yes. I'll do this because I actually really think that Raya's Children is full of like philosophers, and one of the reasons that the dining hall has all the chairs like facing each other like in groups in pairs instead of like in one long table the way the Ascendancy does is because I imagine that people have like these really intense conversations with each other about like philosophy and trade and negotiating deals, like, and it's just like lots of like really keen one-on-one conversation. So you will just reflect that by saying like this is an elevated environment for elevated conversation. Okay, cool. Sand is an acceptable condiment among the desert folk. Yeah, it's like everything's all good until someone breaks a tooth, really. Okay, so let us close this so that we can, and just double check here on clay tunnel door, like, right, this one is the Rise Children locales, flavor, right, cool, flavor, yep. Okay, neat. Let us make sure that these ended up in the game. For example, it is very possible an elegant eating place for a more civilized age. Indeed, you could say that about most things that aren't actually, even things that aren't actually lightsabers. I'm actually not sure if Obi-Wan Kenobi's like random comment makes any sense at all, because I don't actually think, well, maybe it makes sense like from a war-torn perspective, but like I play KOTOR and I was playing the Old Republic, and it's like the Republic hasn't changed in like 10,000 years. Like, Revan's running around with the exact same technology that Luke Skywalker has like 10,000 years later. And it's like, dudes, like, it's amazing that it didn't evolve. Like, that nothing changed at all. Like, clearly Star Wars is caught in some sort of time loop. Anyway, on the flip side, you can tell awesome stories in the past. This is really fantastic. Okay. I'm looking to make sure that none of these caused like the JSON file to get like completely messed up, like therefore like tanking our ability to read them, and like Wait, so see? Unfired clay vase. Probably something is wrong with this one. Unfired clay vase. Mason's chisel. Okay, maybe we just missed it. Unfired. Nope. Something's probably wrong with this file. Unfired clay vase recipe. Whoop. Hey SmartGit, where are you? Here we go. Maybe we just didn't save it. Alright, let us try this again. It looks like everything else is there, but... Oops. You know what would be sick? When you add wizards and warlocks, they use their social bubble with random symbols as they're casting their spells. That would be pretty amazing. With her wounds gone and her newfound knowledge as well, Elisa returned to the camp, ready to aid her friends and tell them the tale of her ordeals, only to discover that they were all turned in to rabbits? No. Okay. Where were we? We were at Unfired Clay Base. Yeah. That's really good. Alright. You guys are awesome. Okay, sweet. The unfired one was the first pot. Yeah, this one. Well done. Let's see. When will this game be Mac friendly? Really want to play this game. Our logic right now is that we are very engineering constrained. We don't have time at the moment to support parallel development in Mac, so we have been putting it off. We are considering looking at maybe having a third party help us with this, but then they would also have to help us maintain it, so that would be kind of exciting. But the short version is we're not going to look into a Mac port for real. Like, we're not going to seriously look into a Mac port until after the main game is more complete. But if you are desperate to play it on a Mac, on OS 10, theoretically you could have boot camp and play it on Windows inside your Mac. There's a tutorial about how to package Stonehearth in a wineskin wrapper, or just play it with wine, on Stonehearth, on discourse.stonehearth.net. Not a real answer because it'll eventually lag out, so, you know, but it is something. Apologies that it's taken us so long. Clarence Fermat, the world's most notorious philosopher, often giving obtuse points of view to objects such as clay beds, like pots for sleeping, which almost barely counts as philosophy. He was last spotted telling a band of kobolds that bows were like swords, but for shooting. He hasn't been seen since. Wow, King Foxtrot, that was fantastic. Has the dev team seen conflicted Dylan series on the game? Some bugs can be seen there. No, but please, if you like, hit us up on discourse.stonehearth.net with links to where those things might be. Alright, next up, I am going to check these in, and then run makeloc, which was Yang's tool for taking all these localization texts. Flavor text. So that we can get them out of their individual files and into eon.json. Let's see. You guys should do a free weekend with many dev streams to get a lot of promotion. Love this game. Thanks for the thought. Whoa. What happened? Alright, yep, that makes sense. I18N, all these guys should now be inside en.json. Sweet. Yang, I think it's fantastic how Shed just collects all these things from all the different mod files. It's really, really good. And I guess you guys, if you haven't really played with it yet, I don't know if you saw, but Yang actually added a mod manager to Stonehearth in this alpha. It is one of the many cool, awesome things that are in Alpha 19. And so I believe you can now turn debug tools on and off from the mod manager instead of having to download it from the debug tools on GitHub and stuff. Okay, cool. All right, this is a good first step for today. Let me stage this again. But before I commit it, let me just run this again, just to make sure that the Potter's everything is still working out. You try to promote this when you stream and help people also help newbies? Much, much, much appreciated. It's a very, very light mod manager, and it is in Alpha 19, so it is in that version of the alpha that is currently on Steam. Whoa, sorry, I ran make look again. Hopefully nothing happened. Yeah, nothing happened. My bad. Instead of running make Potter test. Yeah, it is on unstable, so you can play with it now. Can I share the idea for multiplayer for this game? I can see Kingdom for Kefling's vibe going on in your head. Yeah, we've decided to focus hard on finishing the single player game before really getting into multiplayer. So the stuff that I can tell you about multiplayer is the same stuff I've been saying for years now. But the main idea for me for multiplayer is like you play this game. Like, it's just like the game that you're already playing, except that there's a city on the other side of the map that's controlled by another person. And is that city going to be hostile to you? Is it going to be friendly to you? Like, are you going to, like, compete for resources? Are you going to trade? That's sort of up to you. And it's just like the way that, you know, when you're playing Lego with your friends or whatever, you're all sitting around the same table. Like, you make a Lego Godzilla, like, it attacks their city. Like, it's a very, like, natural and collaborative play style, even though sometimes you're competing and sometimes you are actually actively helping each other. Once Ryaz is properly squared away, have you collectively decided what's next on the docket? We have some ideas, but like all of our ideas, they tend to... This is going to be civilization, but in real... I would say a little bit less civilization, more like town management than like entire civilization management. Because, I mean, like, Stonehearth is still a very intimate kind of game. Like, you get to know your Hearthlings individually. But anyway, next on the docket... always subject to change, but one of the things that we would really like to explore now that we have like a full-time designer who is really good at analyzing systems is sort of like, how do we make a more cohesive mid-game experience for people who are looking for, like, how do we tie together eating and sleeping and surviving and building? Like right now, they're very tenuously tied together through the immigration report. Because of the immigration report, you might... So these all look good. Let's try checking this in. Oops, sorry, yes. Through the immigration report, a lot of the systems in the game, like, they encourage you to do stuff. They're playing fighting games out there. It's hilarious. So don't be alarmed, it is merely the sound of people having fun. So anyway, so a lot of the systems in the game right now are just kind of in their own silo. Like the eating, the food system, the bed system, the immigration system kind of vaguely ties them together. The building system gives you net worth. All these things, you sort of like check them off on a list together and then you get a new Hearthling. Can we do better than that? Can they reinforce each other so that, you know, they're sort of like part of what makes Hearthlings happy? Like, you know, what is the primary motivation that you should have as a player when you're in this early part of the game? And you should ask Richard more about it. I'm not a professional game designer, but sort of these are some of the questions that we're thinking about exploring, and we're also thinking about how we might do that from the perspective of Hearthling happiness. Like, right now happiness is this meaningless statistic in the immigration report. How can we make it more real? Like, right now the only thing that really makes our Hearthlings unhappy is sleeping on the floor and getting killed by goblins. Or getting killed, period. Like, is there more like, can we make it so that when they have conversations, they get happier? But maybe, like, when, you know, things don't go as they intended, they get less happy? And sleeping on the floor is part of that, but, like, could it be a larger system? So these are some of the questions we're thinking about for what comes next. And we don't yet know exactly what form the answers will take. I suspect that will involve sort of like testing it out and playing it and seeing what you think. But they are some of the questions we want to answer. And the reason that they're important is because, like, for a long time, I felt keenly like Stonehearth was trying to be a game, but wasn't actually a game yet. Like, you could see how it sort of draws you forward and makes you want to go toward a certain goal, but, like, it just isn't, like... it doesn't reinforce itself. It's not like in Zelda where like you learn how to use the boomerang and then you learn how to use the bombs, and then like at some point like maybe you'll be fighting some boss so you're chucking bombs at it but also like using the boomerangs to like get hearts or something back, you know? It becomes part of an integrated system. All of our systems are still kind of like floating, and it would be really cool if they sort of came together. Okay, I've talked a lot. And next up I am going, so I get pulled. All right, I'm gonna try to push it because it doesn't look like anything much was pulled in, and then I will talk through as we run the auto tests, and then hopefully the auto tests will pass, and then we'll check it in and we'll call it a good night for tonight. Other questions from you? Lego Godzilla, yeah. Really look forward to some kind of goblin orc playable race. That would be pretty amazing. You know, I think you can certainly mod that in now, but I think the reason that we haven't gone there is because you know that even just for Rise Children, like, we wanted to change the gameplay quite a bit. And if you were a goblin, like, I imagine the gameplay would change quite a lot. Like, you would not be making things at all. Like, you would probably just be stealing things. The orc models are too good not to play as one day. I agree. Civilization in the competitive decision-making, you can choose to be enemies or allies, right? Yeah. Helper Tome Relic. Hearthlings should have relationships, love, hate, and families. I do agree that they should have relationships, love, and hate, but the reason they don't have families is because we don't want to have to deal with all of the myriad complications that having children in the game would entail. For example, like, we wouldn't really want to set children on fire or have them get killed by goblins. That would be really grim. So maybe we'll just, like, do siblings or something. Yeah, we'll see. Whoops, sorry. Where are you, chat? You were gone. Alright. You're getting closer every day. Thank you, Sarandras. Means a lot. Let's see. Make your hearthlings work slower on a dynamic scale, the less happy they are. Yeah, have you noticed that, like, they have a debuff when they're tired and it makes them really slow? I think that's cool, but it's actually also kind of annoying because it means that if all your hearthlings are unhappy, the game just slows down. Like, it just takes you longer to get what you want. I think it would be more interesting if something very active happened, like a hearthling pitched a fit, and then, like, you know, yeah, getting slow is part of it. It is a kind of punishment, but it is a punishment that can make the game unfun. Could there be punishments that are fun too? What do we use to make item models and stuff? Yes, we use Cubicle. Cubicle Constructor, which is a voxel program that lets you export to OBJ, which allows you to import into Stonehearth. Hearthlings could get unhappy for doing the same thing. Same task too long, being idle, little town growth, yeah, exactly, and this could cause them to leave. That would require people to micro a bit more. We actually don't want people to micro. One of our goals was to make it so that you didn't have to, like, feel that you... We wanted it to be a game about setting high-level goals and then watching the hearthlings sort of accomplish that. Yes. Right. Stonehearth Revolt. Hearthling Rebel Phase, yeah. Let's see. Allow them to have children, but the children aren't part of society until they become an adult. Like, I feel like that would work if these were dragons and not people. And then you could be like, well, they're safe in their eggs and now they're adults. But I think that when I see a little person, like, a lot of stuff, like, a lot of related thoughts, sort of like, oh wow, this is what should be able to happen to this person. And it would be like, well, how come those things aren't real? Like, the world needs to have some verisimilitude. Do we have any plan for... So anyway, it's a good thought, but I feel like it would feel weird, because you would expect things to happen and they wouldn't be happening. Do you have plans for legendary items akin to what Dwarf Fortress has as the result of strange moods? We actually do a little bit. Like, those fine items that people make are the result of a random... Like, they're the result of your mind score and some randomized element. But I think what's missing from our fine items, actually, is like a descriptor text that dynamically changes based on what's going on in the game. So, like, those fine items, you know, like, should commemorate your town. Let's see. Yeah, when someone you're related to dies, like, I can imagine that would make you really sad. Like, it already makes the Hearthling sad. It would make you even sadder, and I think you would write some really, like, epically sad journal entries. Let's see. Right, exactly, the AVEX. That is exactly why we don't have children. Alright, almost good here. Any other last questions I can answer for you guys? If not, as usual, thank you so much for joining us, for joining me. Like, I really do enjoy streaming, and I enjoy making up stories with you all. It is one of my favorite things to do on a Tuesday night. Do I have a name for the rabbit folk, or are they just called the rabbit people? I feel like we did come up with a name for them for the Kickstarter, but Tom thought it was, like, too complicated. Yeah. I really like the word lagomorph. Like, I think it's awesome. That is what rabbits are. Some sort of, like, more technical, more scientific name for them. But currently we call them bunny people, so, you know. Like, that's their colloquial name around the office. We will still have to... We've written some of their background and figured out some of what that is, but, like, bunny people does not make them sound epic enough, so we should probably do some more work there. Relationships. Like, the Hearthlings are randomly given family members. Like, this is my brother, this is, like, my uncle or something. Yeah, that would make sense. Aging. Teen to an elderly mechanic, but no family building. That would be interesting too. Like, this person is older. Like, now they are slightly slower, but they're slightly smarter or something. Bun Bun tribe? That is fantastic. I would be terrified of a Bun Bun tribe, and at the same time also want to eat them. Like, I mean, if you say Bun Bun, like, what the first thing I think is, like, those, like, Asian steamed buns with sweet things inside. Delayed time until a new Hearthling appears, already an adult. Yeah, that could totally work. It's not really children then, though. It's more like, I have invited a new person into my house. Yeah, Sam's uncle and Danny's dad. I agree. Like, I think that happens a bit in RimWorld, and it really changes the tone. It's like, this person is my sister, like, and that really makes you feel like, wow, this is an attachment. Like Anna Burlyhands and Kevin Burlyhands. Yeah, that's what I figure. Every time you see two last names the same, I figure that they are in fact family members, but we could call that out more. Hey Wise, it's good to see you. I'm almost done tonight, I'm afraid, but we had a good time writing lore for the different Potter items. Haha, gravity, it works. Time travel. That is complicated stuff. Scottish clans and hobbits. Whoops. Failed to push because of reasons. Well, at least the auto test passed. Anyway, we'll try that again. Alright, but I think that is all good for tonight. Thank you all so much for joining me. I really had a good time, and I hope that I will see you next week. In the meantime, Ali is streaming tomorrow morning at 8:30, and Yang is streaming on Thursday night at around 6. Okay, good night everyone. Thanks for joining us.